Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is de-stressing. And we're going to look at how we can be conscious of our state and how we can, in a deliberate way, bring ourselves back to center. So it should be fun. Before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And this time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, lighting you up from the inside out, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together, vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, de-stressing. Good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. It's great to be here with you, and welcome to everybody else who's joining us. I have I'm doing a workshop. I'm giving a workshop this weekend. And so there's all this preparation that I need to go through to do that. And I noticed that I was starting to get a little stressed, that I was starting to feel like I was rushing around, and I realized, well, wait a second, let's just relax. If we can allow that everything is unfolding as it ought be, and there's actually time for everything and everything in its time kind of idea. I was able and am able to just relax, breathe, center myself. And ironically, or it seems counterintuitive to be thinking that in order to be more effective with so much to do, that the thing to do is slow down, but oftentimes it is, because it gives us, when we slow down, it gives us an opportunity to really be more present. And so I know that lots of us deal with stress, and we're just going to talk about several different ways that we can go about handling that. So one of the ways, first of all, the most important thing is to be aware, is to have the capacity to stand back and recognize, oh, I'm stressed, or I'm really tense and anxious, or feeling overwhelmed. That's an easy thing for us to feel, I think, oftentimes. And so the first key is to recognize how we're feeling, to be present to our state. And then once we're present, it's really helpful to step back and ask ourselves, what am I telling myself? What's my internal conversation? And what we'll notice is that our internal conversation is working us into this state of stress that typically we'll be saying, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. Oh my gosh, right? There's so much to do. Or I don't have enough time, or what if I forget this, that, or the other thing? And even just the urgency of that conversation will get us into a state, right? That we work ourselves into a state. And oftentimes that conversation is happening under the waterline. Like we're not even consciously aware of what is happening. We're just in it. And we don't even hear the conversation. We're not present to the conversation. We might be present to the stress, but not necessarily present to the conversation. So when we get present to the conversation, that then gives us the opportunity to have a new conversation, to just relax and center and slow down and smooth things out. Another thing that happens with stress is we tend to breathe really shallowly and in from our chests rather than into our bellies. And so that's another thing that we can do to help de-stress ourselves, is to start breathing more deeply, breathe into our bellies, just to take a few minutes to breathe. And again, oftentimes with this I don't have enough time kind of syndrome, what it seems, again, counterintuitive to just stop and take a couple minutes to breathe and come back to center. And as part of that process, what we can also do is notice where we're holding tension in our bodies. Like we might be bracing ourselves, raising our shoulders, contracting, constricting. And when we breathe, we can allow ourselves to consciously and deliberately release that tension that we're holding in our body. So this notion of managing our state is something that is profoundly important, to be able to cultivate a mindfulness about our state of being, an awareness of what's going on internally. How am I being? Am I operating from center? These are keys, I think, to the experience of quality life, of actually living. So we've spoken about being versus doing, and the stress part I think is very related to a doing mentality rather than a beingness. And it's almost as if we get outside of ourselves when we get stressed. And this notion of coming back to center is foundational not just relating to stress, but relating to any kind of emotional state that we might find ourselves in. You know, if we get angry, if we get frustrated, um, we can we can be looking at what's going on here. You know, there are, it's not that it's not appropriate. You know, there are times when, of course, you can get angry, and when we become angry, when we start being angry instead of feeling anger, like when it overtakes us, or when stress overtakes us, for example, we lose our sense of self. We lose our ability to really respond to the needs of the moment. And that's what I think that's what we're talking about. I think with stress, we create a sense of urgency. And I think we can have a sense of urgency and still have a smooth calmness about ourselves. When I think about the quality of the energy of stress, it's jangly, it's jagged, um it's really disruptive. And when we bring ourselves back to center, we can sort of smooth those edges. I while I'm talking about calming stress, I think we also have to notice, good morning, Robin, welcome. So good to have you with us. I think we have to notice also that some stress is a really good thing. Some stress is a positive thing that allows us to become more resilient. So, for instance, a plant that is not stressed in any way, like let's say there's a tree or a sapling and there's no wind, for example, and um, it doesn't, without the wind, it doesn't get to build up the strength and resilience. So the wind actually helps it because it's stressing it, it's pushing the plant in one way or another so that it builds a stronger stem or a stronger stalk. But if the wind were constant, it would potentially blow the tree down. And it would certainly shape the tree, right? I'm thinking of the wonderful trees in, I think, Sausalito, that are very windblown, and they are very shaped by the tree. I mean, by the wind. Sorry. They're wonderful, wonderful trees. But so some stress is a good thing because we experience this disruptive shift and then we correct, or we evolve, which brings up the idea that there's no transformation, no change without stress, without disruption. And that disruption is a stressor, right? So it's not that stress is a bad thing. Prolonged stress can be a harmful thing. And so when we're experiencing that, it's useful to be able to be present and to modulate it or to relieve it, to reduce it. So what other kinds of things can we do to de-stress? It's interesting because I've been one in my life to do stress eating, which isn't the best thing, but I imagine I'm not alone around that, to be um, trying to calm or soothe oneself with food. Uh, that can be not the it's not that fulfilling actually, right? But we're trying to do something to manage, or eating or drinking or shopping or um, exercising could be a really great way to help reduce stress also, to move all that energy. Because if we think about what stress is, it's kind of an over energy state, um, especially if it's over a more prolonged period of time. It's over energy, and it's exhausting, right? But to be able to get that energy out rather than trying to contain it is really, really helpful. Going outside. Rosalind says, I'd like to get into the habit of being early. What's the saying? If you're on time, you're late. So maybe 15 minutes early. Well, that's an interesting thing. Then Robin says, acknowledge it, decipher the cause. Can it be changed? If not, can it be changed? If not, release it. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to go back to Rosalind for a second. And I really appreciate you all participating in the conversation. So the habit of being early. Yeah. It's interesting because I've had a lot of um, a lot of conversation around, or training actually, around being on time, and what it means to be on time. So I'm wondering what's driving your interest in being early. Like maybe it's giving yourself enough time to not have to stress about being late. So if you give yourself enough time, then there's a greater sense of ease and less stress. So maybe that's part of the motivation for being early. And then the question is, okay, I'm early, now what? What do I do now? Um, I'm someone who will typically tend to be early. Um, although I've noticed, or I'd be right on time. I've noticed that with this with the morning chats with you all, I noticed that I'm now more typically maybe a minute or two late, which is it's a big transformation for me, because um, I had been trained into, if you're late, it's just a deep disrespect for the other person, um, that or the other people that you're engaged with. So it's interesting, the idea of being early, being on time, being late. There's a lot to be um, there, that to unpack. There's a lot to unpack in that. And so um yeah, the on time thing is very interesting. If you're on time, you're late. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't arrive to a party early, because that that would be putting extra stress on the person who's giving the party, right? If they're saying that the party starts at a certain time, for example. So I think there are times when it's appropriate to be early, and there are times probably when it's okay to be late. Anyway, Robin says, acknowledge it, decipher the cause. Can it be changed? If not, release it. And so I think that that's such that's sort of a words to live by, right? It's the wisdom prayer, is it? The how does it go? The serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept those things I cannot change. I cannot change. How does it go? God grant me the serenity to accept those things I cannot change, courage to change those things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And I think, Robin, that's essentially what you're saying there. And it's such a simple concept, and yet we rail against the things that we can't change oftentimes, and don't oftentimes don't step up to change the things that we can. So yeah, a simple and powerful credo for living, right? So stress, that's another good way to relieve stress, is a sigh, just like and exhale and pushing that energy out. And the other thing too is that stress or and excitement aren't very far apart on the spectrum, and we might be able to transform. Oh, thank you. Robin says, go out in nature. Exactly. I was going to say that. I really appreciate you saying that. Thank you for that. Going out in nature, being in the sun, putting your feet in the ground. That also can be literally quite grounding and assist us in centering. I also notice that sometimes when I'm stressed, when I feel stressed, make that distinction, that doing something that I love can really, it shifts the energy, it shifts the tension. And so it may seem, again, counterintuitive when you've got a lot to do, but things aren't flowing well, to just take a break, go do something that you enjoy. Dance, listen to music, go out in nature, take a walk. I love photographing nature. So just going on a walk and taking photos of the beautiful flowers and things. So then you can come back renewed and refreshed and more focused. Because when we're stressed, a lot of our energy is not being directed in a productive way. When we're stressed, we're fighting with ourselves. So if we can sort of recontextualize that whole thing, reset ourselves, then that can make a big difference. So breathing, being conscious of the breathing from the belly, being conscious of the tension of in our bodies and releasing that tension, shifting the activity, shifting the state, noticing what our internal conversation is that might be exacerbating the stress. Creating a new conversation for ourselves, and giving ourselves compassion, that that the perspective, like kindness to ourselves, grounding, Robin says. Yes, so grounding in nature. Even, it occurs to me, even just something like uh humming, or doing a mantra, to just go, mm, just in doing that, it's creating a different resonance. It creates not only the sound, but there's a vibration in your body that also helps to reset and to relax, because it's giving, what we're doing is we're kind of redirecting our focus. And as we can redirect our focus, we might have to keep doing it over and over, but as we redirect our focus, it allows us to relax. So Rosalind says ohms are clarifying. Well, I agree. It just sort of clears things out, literally. So anyway, those are our de-stressing tips for today. And may you have a relaxing and revitalizing weekend. Robin says, I had my son get me some moccasins so my energy can connect to Mother Earth. Oh, I love that. I love moccasins too. Enjoy them. That was a very sweet gift. So that's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming from Enlightened World Network and Enlightened World Living. Please like and follow the EWN YouTube channel as well as mine. The links are in the description. And until next time,